Hey there. All right. Today I'm going to be talking through using the Shiny web app in RStudio to create a customized dashboard. And to do that, I went to File, selected New File, and then selected Shiny web app. And once you do that, once you select those, it'll generate these two windows here. This is the server window, and this is the UI window. And then after you do that, you want to make sure that you download these different packages here: the Shiny package, the ReadXL package, and the ggplot2 package, as well as making sure that you've imported your data set that you want to use when you generate the dashboard. So these different packages, as well as my data set, were downloaded previously. And so in order to equip those packages, what I'll do is use a library command that basically tells R this is the package that we want to use. And the Shiny app essentially is the package that'll let us interact with the application, the web application that we'll be using. And then I called forward the using a library command, the ReadXL package, which allows R to open, download, and interact with the data set that we'll be using when we generate the dashboard. And then if we go over here to data, we'll see that the title of my original data set was salaries 2, but I didn't want to keep the name salaries 2, so I decided to use a push command to rename the salaries 2 data set test data. And then I used another library command to equip the ggplot2 package. And this ggplot2 package essentially allows you to generate different plots and different graphics in the web application that we'll be using. And when you call forward the ggplot2 package, it'll bring up these different lines of code here that are all getting pushed. All this information is getting pushed into the server. We see that we have the server here, and then the package then recognizes this information as information that you'll be including in these characteristics or commands that you'll be including in the dashboard that you generate. So I'm going to go ahead and run these, and we'll see what our dashboard looks like here. All right, so we see that one of the first things we see is that we have a function command, and then we have an input and an output. Input in this case refers to the characteristics that you want to input or have displayed in your dashboard or in your plot. And then output refers to the type of plot that you want to generate. So we see here line 6, we're telling R that we want to generate an output, and that we want that output to be in the form of a scatter plot. And then we're also telling R that we want all of this information here that follows to be pushed into the output scatter variable that we have here, that essentially applies all of this information, all of these commands to the output scatter. So we're telling R for example, we're telling R that with a render plot command that we want to generate a ggplot as our output, and that we want this ggplot command here, which initializes a plot object, and that we want this plot object to be based on the dataset test data that we indicated earlier. And then we have an AES command, which allows you to set the parameters of the scatter plot that you've indicated. So we have our X and our Y axes here, and we told our using the AES command that we want our X variable to be salary, and that we want our Y variable to be years since PhD. And these are two variables that R pulls from the data set that you import, and you indicate them like so. With a geom_point command, you're indicating to R the different characteristics that you want displayed in terms of your data points. So for example, we use a size command here, and we indicate to R that we want to display the size of our data points at a size 3. And I also wanted to change the color of my data points, and I did that using a col command, which changed the color of the dots to dark green, as I've indicated here. And then I also wanted to set the limits of my y-axis. And to do that, I used a y-limit command, in which I set the lower limit to 1. We see that none of the data goes past 0 here. So all the data starts at 1. And then I wanted to indicate the upper limit of my y-axis at 60. And I did that. And we see that here. But I also wanted to input a title. And so I used the ggtitle command, in which I told R that I wanted to input title text. And so we see we have our title here. But I also told R that I wanted to indicate a type of smoothing method, and I did that with a stat smooth command. And I told R that I wanted to input a smooth method, and I indicated the level of significance at 0.8. And then I have a span command here, which tells R that I want to indicate the level of smoothing or degree of smoothing. And then I have an NARM command, which when this equals true, it tells R that I want to account for and remove any of the missing values in the data, and then graph the result after those variables have been removed. Then a theme command here, I am telling R that I want to indicate the different characteristics of the labels and the numbers that are displayed as part of my scatter plot. So we see here that we have or axis.text.x equals an element text command. So we're saying that we want an element of the text to be indicated like so, or characteristic of the text to be indicated. In this case, we indicated the size of the text for the numerical x and y axes here, and we wanted that size to be 10. So we see that for both. And those are both set at 10. Then I indicated that I wanted the labels of my x and y axes to be set at size 20. So we see we have an axis.title.x command, which is referring to those labels. And then we have an element text command, which we're indicating the size that we want those labels to be. In this case, we want them to be double the size of the numerical labels, the numerical values of our x and y axes. And those are both set at 20. And then for determining the size and characteristics of the title, we used a plot.title command, in which we indicated the type of element text characteristics we wanted to include, or size, the type of italics or bold face characteristics that we wanted to use for the title itself, and then where we wanted the title to appear using an hjust equals command, where we wanted the title to appear in our plot. So again, just to reiterate that, with this command, we indicated that we wanted our title to be set at 40. So this is set at 40, which is double the size of our labels here. And then we indicated that we wanted a boldface font for our title. We indicated that using a face command. And then we indicated where we wanted our title to appear using hjust equals command. And by appear, I mean where on the side of the plot you would like the title to appear. So for example, if I set this at hjust equals 0, it would display to the left. And if I set hjust equals 0.5, it would display in the center. And as we see here, hjust equals 1 displays the title to the right. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, we've talked about how to generate the plot itself in the dashboard, but now we're going to talk a little bit about how to include some of these selectors so that we can make different things happen within our dashboard. So for example, if I wanted to select a different line of smoothing, or fit line of smoothing here, my graph would change, my plot would change based on the items that I selected. To determine those items and determine those different characteristics, we then go to the UI window. So I'm going to call this back up. The first thing we do in the UI interface is generate a fluid page, or using a fluid page command. And what the fluid page lets us do is change the parameters of the layout. And so where do we want to display these different characteristics, these different selector tools within our dashboard. And so we see we have a sidebar layout. This is the sidebar with these different indicators here. So I indicated to R that I wanted to include a sidebar using the sidebar command. And then here with a page with sidebar command, I indicated that that command allows you to indicate where in the dashboard you would like to position your sidebar. So in this case, with a page with sidebar command, it allows you to move the sidebar to the top rather than having the sidebar displayed to the side of the plot. And with regard to the information I wanted to display in that sidebar, I used a select input command, and I told R that I wanted to input, using an input ID command here, the type of smooth method. So in other words, I'm telling R that within this sidebar, I want to be able to select this select input, the different types of fit line smoothing. And then the label, I use a label command to indicate what this selector drop-down menu actually pertains to. So in this case, it would be method of fit line smoothing, and we see that there. And then with the choices, to determine the number of choices, the kinds of choices that I wanted to display in this drop-down menu, I used a choices command and a list command, where I indicated that I wanted to display the options none, Loesch, and LM. Now, none is not an actual program for smoothing method, but I wanted to have that option, that not applicable option, included in there as well as the different types of smoothing method that we see. And then we have a selected equals command, which indicates tells R that when I generate this dashboard, that I want to automatically select Loesch by default. So when I generate this, when I first generated, the option that was selected was Loesch. Then we have a conditional panel, and the conditional panel basically indicates what happens when these different values in this list are selected. So for example, when I select none, it takes away the line of smoothing. But when I select Loesch, the line of smoothing returns and a slide bar appears. And to make that happen, we use this conditional panel where we indicate when we input the smooth method Loesch. So in other words, when Loesch is selected, we want these criteria to take place. And as part of those criteria, we wanted a slider to appear. So to make that happen, we used a slider input command. We used a slider input command, and we wanted that slider to display the degree of smoothing. So we told R that we wanted to indicate span in this case. So when I move my slider here, the degree of smoothing changes based on where my slider is. And then the label was indicated using a label command here, and we see that the label is set the amount of smoothing, and then I indicated the minimum, maximum value and step characteristics of the slider using these different commands. So the minimum value for the slider is set at 0.3, the maximum value is set at 0.9, and the value upon display is set at 0.08, and then the step command here refers to each increment of increase when I move the slider. And then, with a select input command, I also determined that I wanted to, that's how I determined that I wanted to also be able to select the different titles that I wanted to display with my scatter plot. So we see that I used a select input command again, and that I inputted the ID text title, which allows me to indicate the title that I want to input. So for example, we have it just set at default now, it indicates your title here, but if I were to select that, it indicates a new title, which is salaries and year since PhD. And so if we go here, we see that the label, I indicated the label, which is select title, using the label command, and the choices again were determined using the choices and list command, where I listed out that I wanted to display the option default or title, and indicated what I wanted each of those to be once that they were clicked or selected. And then we have a main panel command here, which indicates the type of output with regard to our plot, the characteristics of our plot we want to indicate. So in terms of display. So for example, we told R that we wanted the plot outcome to be based on a scatter plot, and that we wanted that scatter plot's width to be set at 900 pixels, and that we wanted the height of the scatter plot to be set at height equals 400 pixels. And that is how you generate a dashboard using the Shiny web app.